to A, and everything else will fall below it. Anything else? Yes, sir?
I move to restrict the debate
Turn that on.
times on the agenda.
Okay, is there a second on restricting? All those in favor of restricting the time?
Aye.
Any opposed?
It's just really
And
low.
any abstentions? Then back to the order of the agenda. Are we okay with the order of the agenda with item J moved to the first item under faculty issues unfinished business? Yes, sir.
Since I is related to J, should we keep them together?
Would you like to?
I would like to,
Okay, so we'll move I up right underneath J.
whichever way we want to move.
So we would have J, then I, then the rest of the items falling below it, and then the time certain item C under new business for 4 p.m. All those in favor of adopting the agenda as reordered?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very well then. We now move on to approval of the minutes from March 12th. Are there any corrections? I'll entertain a motion to accept. Or not? So moved. Thanks.
I just don't like to move my own minutes.
Any adjustments, corrections, alterations? Very well. All those in favor of approving the minutes of March 12th, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
You can?
We have one abstention, Jane. Any other abstentions? All right, the minutes of March 12th are adopted. Moving on to public commentary. Members of the public may address the Senate regarding items on the agenda as these items are taken up by the Senate. Members of the public wishing to address matters not on the agenda will be invited to do so under public commentary. There are 3 minutes provided for each person to address us under public commentary. Who would like to address us first? You're on.
Thank you. My name is Raul Alvarez. I'm the director of the Cypress College Foundation. Thanks for the opportunity to join you. I'm here to talk about Cypress College's 50th anniversary, which will be celebrated the 16-17 year. And I'll be back to speak further about this, but today I just want to give you a little overview of some of the things that we've got planned. First, the 50th anniversary really is the celebration of stories, and everybody has a story. In anticipation of the 50th, we're asking programs, various groups, departments, services to respond to these 3 questions. What's your story? What's your idea for sharing it? And who's going to tell it? The answers to these questions times the various groups that participate will total the 50th celebration. So various programs, groups, divisions, departments, multiplied by the answers to those questions is the 50th anniversary. We have 3 audiences: our campus community, our local community, Cypress and beyond certainly, and alumni and retirees. A special effort is being made to reach out to alumni and retirees, and the good news is there's some funding behind that effort, and I'm excited to finally be able to make some headway into that much needed and potentially invaluable resource. The celebration will last the year. However, it will crescendo in the spring. The reason is that we can't really sustain the enthusiasm and the excitement and the energy for an entire year. As you know, Fullerton celebrated its 100th anniversary last year. I attended a couple of their events. Excellent. The events I went to were excellent. But there were 38 events in the course of the year, and I understand that some were attended by a half dozen folks, and it's understandable. It's just hard to maintain energy for the entire year. So even though it covers the year, we will crescendo and focus the celebration on that during that time period in the spring.
15 seconds.
Okay. So More is to come, but remember, what's your story? What's your idea for sharing it? Who's going to tell it?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For public commentary, Eldon?
Yes, my name is Eldon Young. I'm the Dean of the Language, and I'm here to express my opposition to the proposal that a committee be established to resolve so-called issues within the Language Arts Division. It's my belief, and I believe that this is shared by the vast majority of the members of my division, that these issues have been resolved. They may not have been resolved to the satisfaction of a small minority within my division, but they have been addressed. And I don't think that a committee would serve any purpose in terms of what it would be charged to do. So that's all I simply have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Eldon. I'd like to remind public commentary, if it's an item on the agenda, I'd like to hold your comments till we get to the item on the agenda. Next for public commentary, Dr. Simpson.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to summer. I want to preface my remarks by saying that the Senate has the right to consider any issue that it wishes to consider. So please don't hear what I'm saying as indicating that you shouldn't be dealing with any issue that you think is relevant. But I want to make two observations. First, your meetings are way too long. Second, some of the issues that you have agendized and will probably want to agendize in the future cannot be resolved by Senate action. We are all aware of issues that have occurred at the college and that have created disharmony and discord at the college. And it is at the college, but most specifically, I think, and most importantly for the Senate, it's caused discord and disharmony amongst faculty. And I know that there's an interest and a hope in getting it resolved. But I don't believe any motion of the Senate is going to do that. I don't believe any resolution of the Senate is going to do that. Does anyone disagree with the concept that we should be treating each other with courtesy, respect, and professionalism? Does anybody in this room disagree with that? That's how we should be conducting ourselves in every venue of the college. Does anybody disagree with the idea that we should hold civility as at least the minimum standard for our conduct? And yet, we all know that there have been times when that hasn't been the case. And we each share the individual responsibility for making sure that that happens. I know that I have in the past transgressed. I may have said or done things that have caused distress amongst some of you. And I hope that you will forgive me for that. And if I am asking that of you, it's fair for you to ask that of me. Going forward, if I have transgressed, we're not going to be able to go forward unless we can let go of some of the things that no resolution, no motion of the Senate is going to resolve. I want to share with you something from the Rotary Club, of which I'm a member. It's the 4-way test for things we think, say, or do. 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? There are other statements for our thoughts, words, action that I think are equally effective. But I like the simple ones that get right to the heart of the matter. If we are each considerate of each other and understand that we may disagree, but even when we disagree, we are all on the same team and we should all be pulling in the same direction. And that pull becomes much harder if we can't let go of some of the stuff from the past, even when some of that stuff in the past was good. I think.
Thank you, Dr. Simpson. Anyone else for public commentary? Not on the agenda? Is that everything? All right. Moving. Oh. You have a-
I do. I received another one of these great anonymous letters addressed to both Joanne and I. And I'm not going to read some of it right now, I'm going to read something that is not relevant at all to anything that is on our agenda.
There's a question as to whether or not a senator can read public commentary. This is not his public
It's not my
commentary.
public commentary. It is something that's been given to us and it says, hello, Joanna and Brian. I would appreciate it if one of you could read this in public comment.
So are you asking for public commentary that is only?
I actually am very much. For this reason, first, I agree with you, but still think it should be read.
Well, let's
but
entertain
no,
a motion
okay.
to have the discussion. Is there a motion that public commentary must be authored? Okay, is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor to which public commentary must be authored. You have the first right of debate.
To know who is doing this in Senate, for many reasons. I think there could be maybe ways to reach out to that person, maybe more lessons to go on. Also, I don't consider it absolutely that you say something and you bring something, you should stand for it. So,
And I absolutely concur with that. And we talked about this beforehand, about this issue. And I if the Senate decides that that will be the policy, that will be the policy going forward forever. And the person who wrote this is not going to, based on the letter, have a very good reaction to that. And unfortunately, they're not going to feel like they can come to us and talk about it. That's part of my problem with it. Now, I don't know if maybe I should just photocopy it and send it to everybody and not read it. I don't know. But I have had a discussion about this with several people ever since it was put in my box. So I will do what is at, I will do whatever we decide to do, because I agree with the argument that is being made. That I think it is chicken crap to drop a bomb or say something that might be divisive, and then to cover yourself with the cloak of anonymity and let the person who's reading it get the shell. However, we are in a situation where there are people who feel like there is no other way to have their voice heard. So I will acquiesce to whatever the Senate wants to do with this. But they make some points that if we don't allow it to be read, it's going to absolutely fuel a narrative they have.
Anyone to speak in favor of allowing only authored public commentary?
Line of information.
Yes, sir.
I'd be curious to ask my colleague if you know the person and you're in some sense vouching that it's a legitimate faculty member and you're here to...
This is the only thing that I can say about this.
Or can you not say?
It is anonymous. There's nothing in terms, it's very professionally done. But what is included in it that leads me to believe that not only is it a current faculty member, but it's an adjunct faculty member, is that they have printed out copies of 2 emails that were sent to the adjunct faculty by our adjunct faculty senators. And they partly have an issue with the way that the adjunct senator thing is taking place and how they have access to representation. They say a lot more, but the first part that is not relevant to anything that is being said or agendized is specifically about the adjunct and they're feeling like they don't really have a voice, and we're taking away that voice. That's all I'm saying about the narrative is going to absolutely be fueled by this. So that's all I'm saying.
Does that answer your question, Ron?
Yes, then I would speak against it when it's time.
To speak in favor that public commentary must be authored.
Adjunct senators, so I'm not understanding why they feel their voice isn't heard when they can tell their adjunct senators, obviously they got an email from them, so they can email them back and say, this is what I feel. So I am opposed and I agree that you need to author what you want to say. And you do have a voice through the senators that are representing you as adjuncts, if that is indeed what is going on.
To speak in opposition, Ron?
I would say that sometimes for reasons of privacy or fear of reprisal, I, as a SEM representative, could get a message from a person who I know and I can vouch for, but wishes to remain anonymous, that it would be okay for me to speak the public commentary on their behalf. So in some sense, it's coming from me, but it has an author who is not me. So I would say we shouldn't shut the door on that possibility.
Anyone to speak in favor of only allowing authored public commentary? Seeing no further debate, all those in favor of the motion? The motion is that only authored public commentary may be offered during the Senate public commentary section on the agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay.
Nay.
We're going to have to probably do this by a hand vote. All those in favor of only allowing authored public commentary, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did you get everyone?
What was the...
And those opposed to the motion of only allowing authored public commentary, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
In other words, all of us go on the record.
Okay. So, shall we do it by roll call then for everyone to understand? Because we have to register who voted which way.
I
You have the 6?
written
Oh,
it down.
okay. Very well then.
I say we're all on the record.
Fantastic. Any abstentions? Fantastic. So only authored public commentary may be offered on our agenda under public commentary. Very well then.
Any anonymous can be...
Sorry. My bad. Any unauthored,
Any unsigned, I guess you would say, because again, it's often
authored
written
by,
out.
very well then. Jeez.
And it is protected by copyright by virtue of being right now.
Oh, fantastic. So you may now offer up the unauthored anonymous public commentary.
And I am cutting this off at the place where Senate business begins, because it's a long-winded one, and they would like to have something later.
Yes, I'm coming.
That's why I have to divide it up.
Moving on to faculty announcements and invitations. Any faculty announcements or invitations? None? Well, then I'd like to invite all of you to join me in El Cajon on Saturday for our Area D meeting to discuss the resolutions that are coming before us in plenary on April 15th and 16th, 14th and 15th. The dates are a blur. But anyway, there's my invite for you. Want to go to El Cajon? No? No takers? It's Cuyamaca College. Just the name sounds cool. I'll drive. Okay, moving on, next item, special reports, associated students. What you got for us, Tanya?
I have tons for you, but I only have 3 minutes. Thank you. I just want to let you know that there's a lot going on with the associated students, so we're looking forward to spring break. We're equally looking forward to what's going on in April. This coming weekend, the Marine Biology Club as well will be have a beach cleanup at Seal Beach, meeting at Rivers Inn Cafe at 1 p.m., supplying the bags and gloves, but bring your own water and sunscreen. LGBT Club is having a bonfire at Bosa State Beach. Some fire pit they will be at. You are welcome to come. The Honors Club just on yesterday had a fundraiser at the Pizza Studio, so they're doing tons of things. What I do want to invite you to is the Women's Recognition Tea on April 8th. That's going to be held on the 2nd floor in Gym 2 foyer. If you are invited, please know that it's in your interest, your best interest to come. On April 15th, it's World Fest. That's 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. out there by the pond. And it's World Fest is where we represent different countries. AS particularly is representing the Philippines. Anime is representing Japan. Or we're talking about food. We're bringing food. The International Club is representing Jamaica. LGBT representing Israel. And MSA is representing Palestine. That's just to name 5 of the sum up to 23 clubs that we have in operation here. Human Services Club, they're having what's called comeback close from all through this week to tomorrow, Friday, as well. So when you come back, April 6th through the 10th, you can drop off your clothes. They can be used, no matter, all forms of clothing are acceptable, blankets, comforters, and so on, and they don't need to be washed. Just bring them as is. Tell your families, this spring break, do some spring cleaning. We're recycling used clothes so to avoid filling our landfills with more waste. You can drop them off at the Student Activity Center. There's a box there. In the lobby by the Social Sciences Division office in the Humanities Building, 2nd floor, and the Math and Sciences Building and the Library and Research Center. So our clubs are active and they have things going on. And we really want you to come to our events. I can't forget this one. April 22nd, that's another Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. again by the pond. They call it Sex Day. I'm sorry, I didn't name it. They call it Sex Day. Okay? They're representing human diversity and cultural diversity and human sexuality. They will be serving food, so we want you to come. And because our associated students is adopting, soon to adopt, our new core values, commitment, collegiality, integrity, spirit, and my favorite word, tell me what it is. Y'all don't know? Connectivity. Because it increases positivity and dismisses negativity. We want you to come. Just tell them Tanya said come, and you just come and eat all you want. That's my report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You get 4 minutes now.
Okay.
All right, United Faculty, are you here to give us?
I'll speak for Brenda. She asked me to also. As you know, we're having our elections. They will be over at noon tomorrow. They will be counting the ballots. They count those off-site at our Apple organization, which is Placentia Unified, and the people on the elections committee will go over there. We also have nominated, we have the WHO Awards coming up, and that's coming late this April, and that's at our conference in Costa Mesa, and we have nominated Barbara Marshall for our WHO representative. WHO stands for who represents ours. Okay, so that's it. The other thing is we're in negotiations currently at this time. We did make a counteroffer to the proposal for the district that the district had come back with. You all got the email on that, and basically we are waiting for. We will be back in negotiations on April 6th and hope to get an offer at that time. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. What you got for us, Mark?
March 27th pre-launch deadline. I know it's a contracted context, but then we'll have the next one upcoming on June 30th. So again, courses that are old, 2010 or older, there's some confusion about seminars in terms of repeatability and independent study, so we're asking that the shell itself for independent study and seminar, that we hold off on doing anything with that until we have clarification, which I'm sure I'm going to hear at the area meeting, I'm hoping, and certainly at the Curriculum Institute this summer. So if you have a shell, leave it as it is for this particular cycle, for the March 27th deadline in any event. That's it. That's all I got to say.
Did I hear you say area meeting?
Well, Southern California?
Like
Yeah, I know.
area
What you're,
D?
we'll talk.
Like this Saturday?
We'll talk. We'll talk. We'll
All
talk.
right.
Can I add to this?
Oh, sure.
I forgot the Library Arts Club, the last 2 weekends in April, I believe this gentleman will be directing Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yes.
The last 2 weekends in April, that's the Library Arts Club, I forgot that, excuse me.
People fall in love in the forest. We've all been there one time or another.
And Shakespeare, after all.
Our Academic Senate Treasurer's Report. Okay. You're so good, Lori. Cypress College Foundation, what you got for us, Lynn?
I just want to follow up on Raul, what he was saying. He's going to, on the 50th anniversary, as far as the Senate goes, he wants us to present our story. And where we were, and I say we, the Senate was back then and where we are now. And he's also talking about pictures of past and current presidents in presenting a storyboard of some sort for display. So I want to help with that and get that going for us for the Senate. So I'm on that committee, and so I will be contacting Pat, Jelena, people who can share us, Cherie, you know, all of that from the past, along with the present, and present our storyboard. He'll be back on the agenda in the future to talk more about it.
Basic Skills Committee, do we have a report?
I believe it's an email. She was planning to.
She emailed the public, I think that's being read in public commentary to me, but she didn't read anything, she didn't email any report.
I'm not on Tuesday, so I know she's planning to email a report.
Okay. I will forward that report if I get back to my station and find that it's there, and I should have read it to you. I will forward that this evening. Okay, student learning outcomes. What you got for us? Okay, alrighty. And program review and department planning.
Kathleen couldn't be here, but she said at the next meeting she will have quite a bit to go over.
Okay. And then district council on budget and facilities. We have not met, but the district coordinating council did meet. And what we discussed there, which I think you folks may find interesting because it deals with our Measure J, is that there is interest in Sacramento to push for a state capital bond on the November 2016 ballot. And if that goes forward, it would require us to reprioritize our projects that I shared with you previously on this diagram. It would reprioritize the projects because right now they're about 70 million short of doing all the projects that were included on this. And if the state capital bond comes through, at least 2 of the projects would be covered under the state capital bond. So that may cause a slight delay, specifically for us in science, engineering, and math, and humanities over at Fullerton College. So I just thought I'd share that with you folks. All right, let's move on to President's Report. I have.
Jolene, I'm a little dense. So you're saying, tie for me what's happening at the state level and why that might cause a delay on a causal level again one more time,
Because
please.
we have 2 major projects that are on the prioritized capital list at the
Right.
state level.
Right.
And if we begin construction on them, we forfeit any state funding.
Yeah.
So
You can do swing space and stuff like that with what we have. We can prepare for an SEM thing, but it could delay it a year. Yeah.
All right, let's see. That was pretty much the Measure J outcome. Everyone heard that it did pass. The vote has been solidified. The judgments have come back in our favor, so they plan on a 30-day window that they have to get the oversight committee together, 60-day to get the oversight committee together. So they said the oversight board will be assembled in May. So, let's see. Committee appointments. I have a question for the Senate. I think I remember correctly that when we send out a call for people to sit on a committee, that we try to diversify the representation and we choose deliberately not to have two people from the same area. Is that a correct recollection on my part? Pretty much? I want to make sure of that. Because I had two people from the same area that wanted to sit in on the Student Success and Support Program Manager Hiring Committee. And there were 3 people altogether, 2 from the same area. And I asked that you would allow me to appoint to the Triple SP Manager Hiring Committee Jaime Ramos from Health Science and Keith Veschel from Language Arts. Any problems with that appointment to the Triple SP Hiring Committee? Okay. And then for the Student Equity Plan Committee, I have 2 individuals, Mary Foreman and Jeannie Hurley, that I'd like to appoint to that committee. Is there any problems with those? No? Okay. And then to the Campus Diversity Committee, we had 1 more spot available, and I'd like to appoint Kevin Barnes. Is that okay? Any problems with that one? And let's see. Self-Study Chair Selection Committee. I have 2 people who have suggested that they might be interested if I don't have enough volunteers. Since they were the only 2 people who said if you don't have enough volunteers, I now have 2 volunteers. And I'd like to appoint Kathleen Ryland and Tanya Cobb. No, Tanya said you weren't available. She ended up well, at least I have 1. So I will appoint Kathleen Ryland and
I had indicated my problem was I teach a class at that time, and otherwise I would certainly still on the committee.
they have 2 meetings scheduled. Oh, good Lord, I don't have the dates on this one here, but I think it was the 14th and the 16th. They were Tuesday, Thursdays.
What time? What time?
The Thursday I know was sometime in the morning because it conflicted with my class.
What's the morning time?
Okay, then if you'll allow me to, I'd like to appoint Kathleen Ryland and myself to sit on the Self-Study Chair Selection Committee. Is that okay? All right. Took care of those. And, huh? I still don't have anyone for the District Institutional Effectiveness Coordinating Committee. I still do not have anyone for the Student Technology Coordinating Council.
But Julian, I was meeting with Deborah Lovegood, so
Okay.
you know that.
No, I didn't.
For Gary, I already had that meeting once over, the one on Fridays, Mondays rather.
The Monday ones, we are filling in. We still need permanent appointments because both Gary and Joe's terms are up, so we need permanent appointments. We're filling in for them, but we still need permanent appointments for those. So, all right. Oh, look, Peggy's here. Yeah, let's see. Do you have a staff development report for us?
Well, we had a successful strategic conversation on Tuesday, 108 people. We are opening 1 more funding period for conference funding. The deadline, I'm going to switch it from the 10th to the 17th because of the spring break. It's not long enough. So I'll send out that announcement this week. What else? I can't think of anything else just now, so that's it.
Fantastic, thank you. The graduation committee is asking Senate for the names of 2 readers and the names of the faculty award recipients and the names of Professor Emeriti. So if you know of anyone in your division who has submitted their intent to retire, those names, if you could, ever so kindly forward those so we can get them. And then, have you started working on the faculty award recipients? I had mentioned it at opening day, and I had sent out the information because we were supposed to start that process in February. Are we working towards that? And then, shall we send out a call for people who would like to serve as readers at graduation? I know historically we've had readers that have read from year to year, and they do such a wonderful job. But should we send out a call for interested faculty? What do you think? Yes? You think so? Send out a call? Okay. I'll send out a call for interested faculty who may like to be readers at graduation. Something that did come to me early this morning from district, I guess it is our opportunity, Cypress College's turn, to submit a nominee for the 2016 Orange County Department of Education's Teacher of the Year. I got this morning. It is due on April 7th, which is right after we come back from spring break. So I'm asking the Senate, should we forward one of the candidates that was selected last year, 2014, as either an outstanding faculty or the Charger Award? I'm looking for some direction on this because I would hate for us to forfeit the opportunity to submit a nomination. What's your pleasure?
This has to come from us.
It has to come from the Senate. So we had 3 individuals that received Charger Award and Outstanding Faculty Awards in 2014.
If we go that route, is there a necessity that it would have to be last year? I mean, I don't even remember who they were, to be honest, so I'm not speaking against anybody. But maybe we have somebody in the last 2 or 3 years, if we're using that as a preliminary standard, that I would say take a look perhaps at any of those.
Are we limited to one?
Yes, only one can be forwarded, and the application information, I don't know how I'm going to get this in such a short turnaround time unless I take it from the information that I am privy to from last year's nominees. I do not have.
There should be files because we automatically roll over people for 2
They're
or
in
3 years,
Gary's
so.
office.
Pardon?
They're in Gary's office. Gary, I don't know where Gary would have put them, and Gary is not back on campus yet, and the deadline for this is April 7th. So I am privy to the information from last year's recipients, but not former years. So we could forfeit the nomination, or I could send out a call, and what's your pleasure, Senate?
So what do you think, Pat? Do we, I don't know, I don't remember who they were. One of them might be worthy, or all 3.
Well, hopefully they're all working.
I mean, I apologize. Yeah, so Pat, what I meant is one meets those definitions for that particular, I'm sure they're already, I apologize. But one of them might meet the parameters of that award. And then the other thing is, why not put out a call, though probably you're not gonna get much of a response. It's spring break, but at least you're covered that way. And then what assistance do you need?
Oh, well, we would have to select. That's why I thought if we limited it to those that we selected last year, we could clearly make a distinction today who you would like me to forward this on.
I don't know what the criteria are for the nomination, but our Charger Award is above and beyond outside the classroom. So I'm not sure if it would fit what you're asking for this award.
Also, I don't think it'd be an
Can it be an adjunct?
That information isn't in any of their instructions. It's just our nomination. It doesn't say anywhere. So.
Are you for it?
Well, yeah, I would.
Was she one of them?
She was, yeah.
I would, there's no way you're gonna do a vetting process if you put out a call. There's no way we can do this, vet it, or do anything else. There's a person who was recently vetted that's the teacher award, if that's what it is.
Yes.
But I don't know if a Charger Award's they do great stuff, and I'm not sure if that falls within the category. If it does, either one of those. But it's choosing somebody that we have now. We can't go out and get somebody else. There's no way we vet that in the amount of time. So we have to make a decision if it's one of the people that's extant that we can get right now, which would have to be last year, or not do it at all.
So my memory, and some of you've been with the Senate as well, and remember this, it seems to me that the parameters of it is excellence, innovation in the classroom is the primary emphasis. Obviously, contributions to the campus as a whole. I don't remember who the three candidates are, but that's my memory of the parameters of this, having attended the event, was that it was excellence in the classroom, innovation in pedagogy, and obviously contribution to the campus as a whole, and that's what my memory, rather than research off campus and professional, venues.
I'm willing to entertain a motion as to how to proceed on this.
If the charter award includes recognition of stuff that's outside of the scope of that award, then we get rid of the charter award recipient from last year. If it's required that it's a full-timer, then we remove the adjunct from last year, and that leaves us with one person, Becky Floyd, who got full-time faculty of the year last year, right? So I would move that we push her forward.
Is there a second?
Second.
Anyone to speak in favor? You have the first right. I think you did a fantastic job enumerating why we should select that candidate to forward.
For those of you who are not aware, Becky Floyd has taken the anthropology department from something that was atrophied at best, and it is a very robust department. I'm biased, of course, because one of the things she did was hire me. But I think just speaking in general from a social sciences perspective, she's taken that department from what was a bit of an afterthought in the division to really a leader in a lot of ways. And that's her from a department chair position. I can tell you that she's innovating in the classroom in ways that the rest of us are trying to catch up to her. And her students are challenged, but they love her, which is always a good combination. So for the same reasons that she got Faculty Member of the Year last year, I would feel comfortable putting her forward for this award as well.
Anyone to speak in opposition of the motion? Ooh, fantastic. Seeing no one else desirable of debate. All those in favor of forwarding this application to Becky Floyd to give her something to do over spring break?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, I will give this to you. She is required to do all of these things so that we can get this application over to district and they can forward it.
Real quick, in case you don't know Becky, she is on one of the ACES videos that we just sent out the thing. It's a cool film,
right.
so you might want to watch her.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good, good. I will send her an email letting her know and attaching the fillable forms for her. But if you'd like to drop that in her mailbox or something.
I will text her right now.
Fantastic. Tell her that she now has an assignment over spring break. I hate to do that to people, but it's for a really good cause because I hear that there's money attached to it and you end up on the school's first kiosk ATM. They put your picture there if you win. There's a reason for it. There you go. All right. Yes,
Sorry, I want to back up to the faculty award because I know I missed a meeting last meeting, but did we approve the process of it yet? Because I
the
thought.
process has already been determined. All that information was sent out at the beginning of the semester.
Okay, because I thought we were looking at it to approve the process again, so we can send it out to our division and get it all, okay.
I had not heard that anyone wanted to change the process that had already been established.
I had a misunderstanding, so I will send it out and get it done.
Thank you, we appreciate it. Let's see, was there anything else that I wanted to share with you? Oh, I did not make it Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative with Kathy Wada and who else was with us? Kathleen Ryland and I can't even remember. But we were over at Fullerton College learning about the 18 different items that we're going to have to set parameters for. This year only 4. In the future we will have 18. But PAC or PBC?
There were well, first of all, at PBC we did not have a voting quorum. The actual voting members didn't show up. So we did discuss some things that were also brought up in PAC that you came into as we were talking about them. And one of the first things that was discussed was we just got, Shantanu had discussed the results from our recent survey that we had done regarding our our mission statement and our values and things like that. And it was overwhelmingly successful. But there was some discussion of the, it's one of those things, and I think that all of us who have educators who have put out like a student evaluation form and they send it back to you and you have all these glowing reforms or glowing remarks, and then somebody says you suck. And it could be 100 of the, you're great, but the one that's you suck is like, why do I suck, right? And that there were some comments on the survey that they were talking about that Shantanu had mentioned that if you're going to say something like that, say, that teacher sucks because he doesn't give the tests back on time. He makes you buy a book and you don't use it or something. To be constructive, because the surveys are meant to give us information that we can improve and use to, that you can fill them out in any way you want to, but there's sort of a level of professionalism that's expected with them. And it led into a discussion that actually was what prompted, I think, Dr. Simpson to come in and speak, because it was about that if we focus on just those bad things in that survey as opposed to the good things, it got into a discussion that some of the things that we've been doing here in the Senate have not focused on what, and our dialogue hasn't focused on what we really do great and the really good work that we do in here. And we were sort of the, it's time to kind of take stock of that and get the way that you participate in that. That's kind of what he was getting at. And it was actually something that we wanted to address to you, Tanya, because it came up that the students are the constituent base, and all that good work that we do is for that student population, and that we sometimes, I think, in here, and I would say that I have, that I might give the wrong impression in that regard, that a passionate wig out is not necessarily constructive, but it's part of the passion that is what fuels me to do things, and other people have those passions here. And that I lose track sometimes of that good work. And just that you had mentioned the plays that are going to be done. Jim's here and Mark's here, and the work that is done in our fine arts about the plays that we do, the recitals that we have. Paul's here, the visual stuff that we do is amazing. Our health people, I don't have TB, I found out yesterday. But great, right? And if you want to be a nurse, come here. And I don't know if I have to say anything about our CTE programs except Tesla, a BA program. And I'm just going to say, yeah, we did decide as a college that we were going to have CTE programs here because they kicked ass. Our reassigned time should reflect that. It should be a constant reminder that we made a good decision, but it's a separate issue. In our division, in social science, we're the G people, and we crank stuff out. But he talked about Becky Floyd. I just want to give him some praise because we have people in our division who are able to meld the researching and the teaching, and he's an embodiment of that. And we have the Renees who we conveniently can take two colleagues and put into one to talk about all of our counseling and all of our student services and everything, which is a great example of how we work together all the time. They're essential. And I'll say personally, you math folks, my wife right now is a third grade teacher, very well respected in Beverly Hills. She's a graduate of this school. Her focus, science and math, because of the program here. And partly because of you, Ron, because she took your class. And then I look, and we've talked about distance ed. We've talked about how we have the best distance ed plan because of what Jeannie Miller did, coming out of your division. And these guys over here, across the hall from us, their basic skills stuff that they do, their reading proficiency stuff that they do, the forensics team, all of the way that they get involved in other stuff, with magazines, club lead, whatever it might be, that's the work we should focus on. I don't want to leave you adjuncts out, because you fit into every one of these groups that we've talked about. It's that work that we should focus on, and I'm sorry if I have given you the impression that we don't, and we're all going to give a better job of focusing on that work. That was something that we talked about in PAC, and we wanted to make sure that we brought to the Senate.
They distributed the survey results, so if you want to see any of the individual results, Phil also did a mission, vision, values review week before. I think he said he had 12 faculty participate, but you may be interested in the survey results and some of the statements that were made that weren't particularly helpful, like just change it. It's like, well, change what? But that takes care of that item, and I think we can now move on to item J. We've got about 3 minutes till 4 o'clock, and I asked that at 4 o'clock we take a look at resolutions. So is there a preference? Resolutions? Because it will probably go fast? Okay. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the resolutions? And if you have any concerns, can you let me know which resolutions you have concerns with? Particularly, are you concerned at all with the bylaw changes? I sent those out to you folks along with the resolutions. Was there anything that you had issues with that I can take to our Area D meeting on Saturday?
The only thing, because I don't know, and it was one of those things where people who are more versed in that stuff, are they cool? Because they are changes, but I don't know how substantive they are, to be honest.
Let me find my, wherever I put my list of them. Ah, shucks. I have too many sheets.
So, Jolene?
Yes, sir.
I'm Dan. When we're talking about revising the academic bylaws, resolve the Academic Senate of California Community College adopt the revised Academic Senate bylaws. The revised bylaws take effect immediately. Going, okay, what was that change? I don't, I'm sorry, that was a confusion for me. I apologize.
There actually was a side-by-side comparison that has what it was versus what it is. They came out, all of them came out together as attachments, and a link over to the Senate website. I can send them out again, and it won't inform our conversation on Saturday, but it will inform the vote on April 15th or 16th. Okay. Anyone have concerns with any of the resolutions? Sure.
Are there any of them that you feel has a great impact on any of the divisions? Sometimes they have some that specifically owns in a specific division or something.
For yours, I would say the institution of a designated CTE liaison will probably be the most significant. So that the statewide academic senate resolved that the ASCCC urged local academic senates to identify a CTE faculty member to act as a liaison to facilitate communication among local CTE faculty, the local academic senate, and the academic senate for California community colleges. 2 weeks ago, I went to Clovis for the CTE faculty regional conversation. There's a lot going on up at the state level. Even the Board of Trustees addressed it in a resolution on Tuesday night. They are supporting high-cost, high-demand career technical education programs through differential funding. There's a legislative push to have high-cost, high-demand career technical education programs funded differently than our regular general education coursework, and they supported a resolution on Tuesday night. Our board did. This goes one step further and essentially establishes within, or encourages us to establish a designated CTE liaison person, not just to represent the CTE division to Academic Senate, but to have a CTE liaison person that goes out to the LA Orange County Regional Consortium, that goes out to the SB 1070 work group, that goes out and represents the voice of CTE faculty. Because one of the things that is very, very clear from all of the regional conversations that are going on with the workforce task force is that CTE faculty are being lost in the conversation, and some of their issues are being lost.
So the two things I heard, we were at Palomar, and that was sent out. I'll send that out to you, and you can send it out to everybody. Maybe you saw it. It was a paper that came out of that Palomar meeting where they summarized the CTE concerns. And two things quickly, which you referred to, I'll say it really fast, was reconsidering the ratio of apportionment for CTE programs to help support the funding of their hardware, their software, licensing needs, and reconsidering the ratio of apportionment funding for those kind of programs, which by and large CTE faculty have good program rate completions, yet have relatively small seat counts. in many of their core classes. The other one was in relationship to, gosh, am I forgetting about this? What was the other core thing? Well, just more representation in a voice, and you've already mentioned that, in terms of a liaison for that, you know. Oh, that's it. Oh, I know, they would like to also reconsider some kind of expedited curricular process that we could adopt parameters and criteria for statewide, the curriculum committee would follow to allow for quick new curriculum items to meet job market demands, but it's trying to create criteria for that at this point, how that would be accomplished. But again, the problem, Pat, and for those of you who've been curriculum chairs, you still got to get it through the DCCC to the board, and the chancellor's office is still, relatively speaking, short-staffed. But is there some way to expedite that? I guess that could be made possible, but I don't know what that criteria would be, to meet job market demands, and then maybe pull that course if it no longer meets the demand. You know what I mean? To have something, to bring something on and bring it off to meet employer demands in a particular area. You know, Walmart suddenly needs 200 warehouse workers for a period of 2 years, and then they don't. I mean, I'm being conjectural and a little bit humorous.
We, in the sense of the curriculum committee, a long time ago, created the fast track process, but a lot of places do not have it. Still has to go through the rest of it, but we do have the fast track that enables us to respond more quickly, and a lot of institutions don't. So that's why I think that's.
Except you're doing something odd, Pat, with a seminar context, and one of the things is it's being given a COR number. I mean, that kind of relates to that. It's getting a control number, all our seminars, and whether where seminar shells can be repeated, and the same thing with independent study. So I need clarification on that when I go to the Curriculum Institute, and then she and I guess I'm going to Jolene to we've got a film shoot at 5, but okay, I'll be there in the morning, I guess. Gotta learn lines tonight with coffee. All right.
In addition to the CPE liaison, they're also looking for us to create a legislative liaison position that would go out, look for legislation that's impacting community college faculty, and bring it to the Board of Trustees rather than wait for the Board of Trustees to hear through the pipeline that there's legislation and then, of course, pass the resolution. We would be proactive and take it to them first and foremost. In terms of faculty development, this one I think is the most timely since we just had the OCDE Teacher of the Year conversation, that every single year, whatever faculty awards we bestow, that we would take those, this is the way that it says, that local senates establish local processes for nominating faculty and submitting their nominations for statewide awards. So if we think that they're so good as to get our campus award, we should also be putting their name forward for the state awards as well, because they're not getting a robust enough applicant pool. There are some changes to the disciplines list. There is a resolution for alternative courses for math competency. There's a number of different resolutions, and I'm looking for some direction in terms of if you have any issues with them that I need to bring up at our Area D meeting on Saturday. Otherwise, I will ask one more time the Thursday of plenary how I should vote on these the Saturday following that meeting. So hopefully by then you'll have a chance to maybe talk to your faculty and your divisions and how we should vote on these. Any others on that? Okay. Look, and my time is up. So let's move on to item J. Role of Senate and Department Division issues. I did receive item, oh boy, where did it go? Shucks. Okay, so let's see where I put it. It was sent to me by Mary Foreman to, yes. She asked that it be read during public commentary, but it was an agenda item, so I have it.
I have a point of order.
Yes, sir.
I'm actually the one who's bringing this, so I should be allowed to present this first.
Oh,
before
very
you
well.
go in.
Okay. At the last meeting, we had postponed it to this meeting, so I will entertain a motion on this particular item.
Well, I will make the motion and let me explain what it is first.
Okay.
Because I think that there's some uncertainty as to what it is. There's some confusion about it, and I think that there's some fear about it. And I want to get rid of any of that. It's apparent to me, and look, I'm perfectly okay to have somebody tell me that I'm living in an alternate reality here. but it seems to me that there are issues that are brewing under the surface that are taking place in language arts that are the result of two different realities being expressed by two entrenched positions. And they exist underneath the surface, and what we've been doing for a while is playing whack-a-mole. A reading proficiency issue comes up, we have to hit it. An English 99 issue comes up, we have to hit it. An issue about the mailboxes comes up, we heard last time it's about English 99 and a response to that. So we keep playing whack-a-mole, and we never actually address the issue. What was said in public commentary was the person was very frustrated because they had tried 5 times to get a meeting on English 99. I'm assuming that that is related to English 99. Again, if I'm looking at any of this wrong, let me know. But there is this thing that is going on underneath that is.
We need to have the motion on the floor first and then.
I'm explaining the motion, and I will. I'm explaining the motion.
Where you're going, and I'd like to hear the motion.
So what has to happen as a result, ma'am? May I ask for your ruling?
May I have a motion?
Yes, I move to create a committee for the purposes of mediating a resolution between the language arts department, or in the language arts department between reading and English.
Is there a second for the motion?
Second.
Okay, the motion on the floor is to create a committee to mediate between language arts and reading?
Reading. Now, so let me continue with this. This is something actually, as we've seen with curriculum, they've said, kick this back to the department and let them resolve it. And we then get from some, this is resolved. And then I look at our agenda and I see 3 issues that deal with language arts. And it seems to me to stretch reality to say that it's not an issue which is constantly being brought up and is going to continue to come up. And what I'm seeking is to actually do something that will accommodate curriculum. Sit the 2 sides down, have them discuss what is taking place, because I actually believe that there is a grand bargain right on the horizon that we can get if we can actually do this. But the 2 sides are entrenched in their realities, and if those realities continue to be the case, those realities are contradictory and irreconcilable. So every time it goes back to them, they bat their heads again. And that's what has been happening. Regardless of how many it is, it's coming up. The idea that it's resolved seems to me to be a tad ridiculous if it keeps popping up. And all I'm saying is I don't want any of us. I don't want to. I'm not going to be part of this committee. I don't want to be, because I do not want to be put in this situation anymore. I simply want us to do the job that we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to be focusing on this stuff and having it come up. So why do we have to do it here? The percent is now higher than 27.1. It's still an issue in curriculum. We haven't had it come up in program review, but it's going to. I'm just asking for the mediation. I'm just asking to have it resolved. That's all I'm asking for, and it seems like that's what everybody wants. And it's not going to be done unless somebody sits them down and talks to them. That's the position I'm coming from, and I'm done with it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But we're going to keep addressing the issue. That's the only position I'm coming from on this.
So the motion on the floor would be to create a committee to mediate the issues in language arts and reading. To that, I am going to read the public commentary by Mary Foreman.
It was English and reading.
English and reading.
English and reading.
English and reading. Thank you.
Which is it? It should be English and reading. English.
Whatever
Okay.
the parties want to call themselves.
Okay,
Even
so-
that's part of a difference of the realities.
Okay, so to create a committee to mediate the language arts division issues between English and English/reading. This is Mary Foreman's public commentary. Oh, I think I saw her. She can do it herself. Yes, because I believe it speaks in opposition, and we had someone in favor, so now we have someone in opposition. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I watched the Academic Senate meeting on video and was distressed about the way Senator Brian Sealing referred to himself as a referee in the personal disputes in the language arts department. While the president of the college has rightly called the issues between the language arts faculty academic and professional, this senator has characterized the issues in our division as personal and admonished our division for its failure to resolve its problems. I would like to remind Senator Sealing that the issues at hand in our division are primarily pedagogical. As passionate educated, and dedicated individuals, the language arts faculty feel compelled to uphold their pedagogical stances. They are standing up for what they believe in and are trusting that the processes that are in place will help them to safeguard the integrity of their programs. To me, that is an academic disagreement, not a personal one. My understanding of the Senate is that it's the Senate's job to handle just such academic issues in a professional manner through agreed-upon process. Part of that professionalism means representing the Language Arts Division in a fair and accurate way. This is not what I saw in the last Academic Senate meeting when Senator Sealing referenced problems with the Language Arts Division and the Educational Master Plan. Senator Sealing stated that there was a big problem with an overlap in departments in our division. Reviewing the Educational Master Plan, basically I found that it identified a number of areas on campus in which an overlap of departments made data collection convoluted. Language arts was only one area among several that had this problem. However, our division addressed this issue some time ago by asking the institutional researcher, Phil Dykstra, to investigate the matter. In a division meeting, he told us that it was a relatively simple matter to change the data collection method. Problem solved. By presenting this information out of context and insisting that there was a big problem that had to be resolved, Senator Sealing was doing exactly what he accused our division of doing, mucking up the process. In fact, after the last Senate meeting, I was no longer even sure what the issue was that the Senate was discussing in regards to the Language Arts Division. I know there is a resolution regarding the illicit copying of the piece of correspondence, but what are the other issues at hand? If senators are going to act as referees, then they must be fair and well-informed. They must not muck up the process by asserting there are problems where there are none. Frankly, I was insulted when Senator Sealing said that he had no confidence in the Language Arts Division's ability to resolve its own issues. Faculty in the Language Arts Division have worked hard to address and resolve these problems. It would be helpful to all involved if Senator Sealing could acknowledge that the Language Arts Division has, in fact, already resolved the majority of these issues. Thank you for listening.
Is there anyone speaking in favor of the motion? Yes, sir.
Maybe it's my proximity to the Language Arts Division, but I have been approached by multiple members of that division expressing issues that they had, concerns that they had, injustices that they felt that they had been subjected to. I don't think that the Senate should consider Brian's perspective to be reflective of just his reality. I'm seeing this as well, and this is not something that has happened in the last 6 months or the last year. This is something that I've been a witness to for a long time, and I don't know whether it's because we're down the hall or because they feel that we as a division have a reputation as being kind of rabble rousers, and maybe they're coming to us hoping that we will be part of action. But there's too much smoke coming from the Language Arts Division for there not to be a fire. And I'm not pretending to understand what all those issues are, but I have not seen, as a faculty member or even as a graduate student, seen departments and divisions with this much stuff going on. And I think that we as a Senate should explore this. If it's true that you guys don't have any issues anymore, if it's true that everything's been solved, then let an impartial group of individuals from the Senate assess that, come to that conclusion, and then put it to bed. I feel that this is taking up too much of the Senate's time, and I agree with Brian's statement that we're playing whack-a-mole. Whether it's curriculum, whether it's in here with condemnations of behavior, it's not addressing the issue. It's not addressing whatever those issues are. I don't think it's a personal problem between two faculty members. I feel it's larger than that based on what I have seen. So I would agree with Brian's statement that it's in the best interest of the Senate to address this, see what's going on, and come to a conclusion rather than taking up our time on these issues again and again and again. That's my position.
Someone subcommittee. I have two. I will defer to Pat, and then if there's still someone desiring a debate.
First, I'm a little concerned about what the actual charge of this committee is. Originally, we heard mediation, that they would sit, although at our last meeting, it was imposition of a position on it. Now it changed to mediation, but in the last comment, we heard that this committee will assess and make decisions. I don't know what this committee is charged with. Secondly, this issue about the Senate always taking up too much time on these issues.
Yes, sir.
What's the actual motion again? I'm sorry, what is it?
To create a committee to mediate language art division issues between English and English/reading
Okay,
departments.
so it's a mediation thing?
That's what I just said. The last time when it was first brought up, if you recall, the very word was imposition of a position. Then I said it became mediation. I'm glad to see that. Now I just heard assess and make a decision on it. That's very different than mediation. That's my point.
Do you mediate without doing an assessment? Sorry.
Let's the senator speak.
Secondly, this issue of it coming up all the time. I had given that original timeline to you. It was challenged last week. Let me do this once again. I identified 7 issues that have come before the Senate that are specifically related, and I used it in the broadest terminology possible. Of those 7, 4 of those issues were raised by people outside of the division. So the questioning came from outside the division. Second to this, there
Point
were...
of information?
Yes, sir.
How many came from other divisions in that time?
Pardon?
How many came from other divisions in that time? I'm just wondering.
I'm talking about how many issues were raised concerning divisions in the
So
English.
it's 7 versus 0?
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Can we keep the debate to the
My
motion
point
on
is, if the argument is going to be made that language arts is raising all of these issues, there are 7 of them, 4 of them were not even raised by members of the language arts division. If the suggestion is that people outside the division can raise the issue and nobody from language arts should be able to respond to it, that's kind of an interesting take. 2 of the issues were not even issues between members of the language arts division on divisional issues. They were simply differences on how the Senate conducted itself, but I included those because I didn't want anybody to say I'm underestimating this. I hope they're not suggesting that senators cannot disagree with one another if they're from the same division. But to characterize that as an issue on that area is seemingly untenable. The only issue that came up that was raised by a member of the division concerning the division was when Brenda Wabi talked about the misappropriation of the English department name, and Cherie Dickey responded to it. I don't know if the argument is that Brenda had no right to raise that issue, or that Cherie had no right to respond to it, or either one. But that is the sum total of what has been brought up by members of the English department, reading department, ESL, comm, foreign language, etc. before this body. If you want to include the statement of professional and unprofessional conduct that was brought by the English department, that was not an internal issue. That was something that was done to the language arts division, but there's no indication that it was internal, unless somebody wants to say, we have proof that the illicit distribution and photocopying came from within the division. Otherwise, it is simply a campus issue on that. I'm disturbed by those kinds of characterizations. Secondly, this is ignoring a lot of the information. Some of these issues that aren't being resolved, for example, on the English 99, the curriculum committee was unanimous in saying, go back to the division, settle it. We have talked about it. Just to give you an idea of some recent votes on it, there were a vote that was taken on this. 14 of the 17 faculty who responded from English and English reading, 14 of the 17 voted yes to develop a new accelerated course collaboratively. 2 voted against it. We have had several meetings in the division where that has been very typical. Virtually everybody is speaking on one side except 2 or 3 people. To characterize this then as one being where the language arts division can't resolve its issues because you don't have 100% agreement is to me a misrepresentation of what is going on in this division. It is painting us in a way that just is not a fair representation. If they are going to argue that divisions have to be absolutely unanimous in order to be considered functioning divisions, well, I suppose that's an interesting standard, but, you know, I mean, even...
Time on the issue has expired.
Is there a call for the questions.
Call for the question.
Extend debate. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion to extend debate for 5 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Let's do it by hand. All those in favor of extending debate 5 minutes, say, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All those opposed to extending debate? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
It's not a majority, actually. Well, do we only have 18 people? No, the people left? What is our quorum now? What is our total now? Because I think, you're here as a, right? Right.
Brian, I'm going to abstain on this.
So it's 21, 10 doesn't pass.
10 doesn't pass. So the motion to extend debate fails. The call for the question has been made. Is there a second on the call?
Second.
All those in favor of creating a committee to mediate the language art division issues between English and English reading departments, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Nay. Wow. Okay, that was overwhelming. So,
Yeah, I have to write it down.
Okay, all those in favor, because that's a shorter list, all those in favor of creating the committee to mediate, raise your hand. We've got Tina for Becky, Michael for Michael, Craig for Craig, Renee for Renee. Are there any abstentions to that motion? No abstentions.
I abstain.
Oh, okay. We have 2 abstentions, JY and Mark. Will you need to know who voted in favor, or can we do
So is it 1, 2, 3, 4? It's only 5 yes? Or am I missing? Jane, did you vote yes?
No.
Keith didn't. Renee, me, Paul, you did? You voted no?
Did you count yourself?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
None of you, right? Okay. And Renee, okay, I missed Renee. There we go.
Got them all?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. The motion fails. We will move on to item I, which is the resolution. And since Leanna's our key, the item is yours. Do you have a motion for us to entertain?
Yes, I do.
We had the first reading last time to accept the resolution of condemnation.
So move the reading that happened at the last meeting.
And I suppose there would be a second to that as well. And we ran out of time last meeting to have our those desirous of debate. Are there anyone to speak in favor of the resolution?
The resolution of condemnation of unprofessional conduct.
To
It's
speak
long.
in favor of it?
No, I have a question.
Okay.
I have a hopefully friendly amendment to it. Is it this time to do it, or not yet?
Suppose you have to do it whenever, but if you want to speak and you want to amend it, you can.
Okay, what I'd like to say is, looking at what was passed out last week, I thought that with just one change, it would be perfectly good, because it houses a problem without naming people, saying this is the issue that we all believe in.
Okay, so
And I
what
would
is
take-
the amendment you're offering?
Yes, in the first, therefore,
Okay, so in the first resolve?
yeah, I'm sorry,
Okay.
first off, I would take out that last sentence, that took place in Language Arts Division.
So we would only be removing that took place in the Language Arts Division. So the resolved would then read, the Academic Senate of Cypress College condemns the actions of the invasion of privacy via the actions of photocopying and distributing private correspondence, and be it further resolved. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there a second to the amendment?
As a friendly amendment, it doesn't need a second, it just needs to be accepted by the person who proposed the amendment.
There's technically no such thing as a friendly amendment.
So is there a second on the amendment? Very good. I think you did a great job of giving us a reason why to be in favor of it. Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the amendment? Yes, sir.
What photocopying are we talking about?
What we're saying in general, we would never accept that to happen. Taking something and photocopying, regardless of where it's at.
Anyone else to speak in favor of the amendment? Very good. Seeing no one else desirous of debate, all those in favor of making the amended change, striking that took place in the Language Arts Division from the first resolved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay?
Nay.
Any abstentions? We've got Michael Clyde and Jim Hormel and Paul Payment. So we've got.
Who said yes? It sounded like there was two people who said yes.
So
I will abstain.
it passes. We have multiple abstentions.
Who says yes?
Okay. I'll go around. We've got Ron and Jesse, Sarah, Pat, Keith, Leanna, JY, Tanya.
Yes to his
Lynn.
amendment to strike the language arts out of it.
Did Lynn?
11.
And then those opposed. We had one. And then the abstentions. We have Paul, Jim, Jane, Becky, who is Tina, Mark, Michael Clyde, and the Renees.
There's one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going right there. Did Mark abstain?
Mark abstained.
Okay.
All right. Therefore, we have struck that took place. We are back to the main motion. Anyone to speak in opposition to the resolution?
Oh, opposition to it. Well, yeah, I'm going to read this in opposition, I guess.
Okay.
This is the public commentary that came about. From the same person who had addressed the adjunct issue. In relation to the recent discussion of a vote to change, in relation to the discussion, in relation to the recent discussion and vote to change the language, to change the language in the language arts issue from department survey to personal correspondence, can the Senate explain how a department survey can be considered private when even in those cases in which it explicitly states that it is confidential or answers can be given anonymously by its very nature, its results are meant to be known, analyzed, and used as a guide? Can handwriting the answers or including personal information turn it private? And if so, is it appropriate to include information of a personal nature in a department survey? Can the Senate explain why so much weight is being put on the message and so little on the, or so much weight is being put on the messenger and so little on the message? Doesn't AP 3050 apply to someone who blames not a colleague's action but the colleague herself as the source of her frustration? Isn't this personal and as such uncollegial and unprofessional? If the instructor answering the survey defiantly states that all she regrets is misspelling the colleague's name, what's so wrong about letting everybody know about something that she is proud of? Where is the offense to the integrity of the college when no one stole the survey and when the involved correspondent believed that she herself left it in the wrong mailbox? Where is the crime in taking whatever action we see fit regarding what is left in our mailboxes without us even asking? Don't we receive at times mail that, although addressed to someone else, is passed on and shared? Why should someone be punished for the carelessness of another one? Why should the messenger apologize while the offender remains proud of her offense? Does the Language Arts Division, or the ESL department in particular, regularly give out surveys? And was the intention of this one to elicit answers that would justify attacks and actions against a colleague? Can proof be provided that giving out surveys is a regular practice within the Language Arts Division or the ESL department? Why do language arts senators condemn the distribution of a message but not its content, when plain human decency calls for the defense of a colleague that is personally attacked without the possibility of defense, even more so when they are supposed to be representing that colleague as a member of their division? Is it because they support the attack themselves? Do division senators only speak up for those with whom they agree? Does the Academic Senate have provisions to deal with the partisan use of the Senate? Furthermore, if the Language Arts Division voted 18 in favor and 2 against the resolution, and the Language Arts senators state that the copy of the survey was sent to about 40 instructors, how can they claim a majority? Where are the other 20 or so, not to mention their adjunct faculty? If they claim such a strong support within the division, why bring this issue to the Senate? What is there to be gained that they don't already have according to their own report? After all, it is a divisional issue, not a Senate issue. Should the Academic Senate also overlook at least 2/3 of the college voted to end the semester at-large, or the senator at-large system that gave the Language Arts Division preponderance at the Senate for many years? Since this seems to also be related to the discussion regarding the reading department use of the English name, why is it, I'm not going to go into that because it's not related specifically to this. Thank you for your time. I'm sending this anonymously to avoid us the pain of another witch hunt. I don't want to go without saying the tradition of acceptance, understanding, and collaboration of our college was shaped in part by those of you in the Language Arts Division who have been around for a long time and who now seem intent on destroying your own work, which makes it all the more painful. Is this absurd fight really what we want your legacy to be? Please reconsider. Human beings don't lose face for extending their hands out, but we all lose our humanity if we don't.
To speak in favor of the resolution? Yes, ma'am?
Well, I'll just respond to a couple of things on the item there, just to clarify. The question was asked, how can a department survey be private? It was a survey of the department. It wasn't a departmental survey. It was a private survey for each individual to the department coordinator in that case. And that was what was made public. I am very disturbed by one of the lines in there that essentially said, don't we all receive other people's mail and sometimes pass it on? No, I do not. If I accidentally get somebody else's mail, I return it. When it is stapled and so forth, I know it's not mine. If I accidentally open it, I certainly don't photocopy it and distribute it. And if that is the justification, and this is the second time I've heard it now, that people are saying it's okay to do this, this is exactly why this Senate has to speak out, because there seems to be a broad attitude that this is acceptable behavior. I do not find it acceptable behavior. I hope that is true of everybody in here, because if it's acceptable under these circumstances, where do you draw the line? Where do you say any of us can pass on anything that we come across that belongs rightfully to somebody else in a private situation? I'm appalled that people would even suggest that this is okay to do.
Anyone else to speak in opposition to the resolution? Mark?
So, okay.
Mark Hoppany.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You have to name first. Like me junior for the rest of the day.
He looks like my son, so.
This is sort of an opposition, but it's also kind of more of a point of clarification. Yeah. Is this what happened currently against policy in the college or not? Right. Is it? Yes or no? Do we know that answer?
There is no policy that technically covers this.
I see.
It's against common decency.
Right. I think we have a code of professional conduct that covers this roughly, and I think most of us agree with that. So based on our voting in the previous, in J, item J, I feel like we established there that we're going to stay out of this. So I wonder why, like it was argued in the, I don't remember which side was arguing it, but argued that this is a professional academic situation. We're not supposed to worry about personal stuff, and that this is a personal thing, and we've decided to stay out of it. So knowing personally a shred, only a tiny shred of what's really going on here, I feel like we sort of established our own precedent that we aren't going to deal with this, really. This isn't our business. So whether we agree with that or not, that's what the Senate just decided. So I wonder if the student, or the, not student conduct, here am I, our professional conduct policies already cover this, and that us making a statement is sort of into the air and isn't really help. It's just, we disagree with this thing that everybody thinks is bad already. I don't know what that serves, since we've already demonstrated that we're not really able to really do anything. We won't create a committee to help. So no, I don't mean that to judge at all. We won't. We decided we won't. So what's the point, kind of, is what I'm saying? So I guess that's an opposition, but it's more like a really strong abstention. An abstention so strong that we should all just abstain and move on. So I guess that's a no.
Is there a call for the question? Is there a second to the call? Second. All those in favor of the call for the question, say aye. Aye. Any opposed to the call?
Nay.
Any abstentions? None? The question has been called. All senators in favor of adopting the resolution of condemnation of unprofessional conduct. I'd rather do this by hand vote so that we can get the vote right the first time.
I'd actually rather do it by roll call.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote. All those in favor of the resolution of condemnation of unprofessional conduct. Roll call, sir.
No, we'll first say it, and then we'll get it. Okay, I got you.
Got it?
Armley. So wait, this is the motion to pass it, right?
Yep.
Cobb.
Yay.
Franks. Oh, who's Franks?
He's not here.
So he's not here at all. Okay. Gaynor.
Oh,
wait. Oh, Mrs. Franks.
Yay.
Yay.
We didn't have you down.
Gainer. Gober, or Gober's replacement.
That's right. It started on Monday.
Gober's abstain. Gomez.
Nay.
Gorosky.
Nay.
Ho. Hormel.
Nay.
Jones. Clyde. Laguna Faranac. Laguana Faranac, sorry. Majorian.
Nay.
Morvan. Payment. Pinkham and Nancy's not here, right? Mark Jr. Michael, there's no Kathleen replacement, right?
No.
Jesse.
Yay, nay, or abstain?
Yay. Ceiling. Nay. Sensalo. Leanna, you're Keith?
Yes, yay, yay.
Walker.
Nay.
And Zager's not here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 no, and 4 abstain. It fails.
Fails or
It
passes?
fails. Of the voting people, the abstentions of the votes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 votes, 9 yes. Math department. 21 votes, 9 yes. What does that mean?
The abstentions don't count against the vote total.
Right, because that's like voting no. So then if abstentions would be no.
Oh, okay, so it's 9 to 8.
So it passes.
Yeah.
Wasn't there something 2 votes ago that went 10 to 9 or something?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm not sure, but there's abstentions. 9 to 8, and I'm actually going to appeal to the chair to vote. She can vote to tie, and therefore it ties. Or she can vote yes. Or she can abstain.
Point of information. Yes, ma'am. You can vote, or you can vote to tie, or you can vote in a case of a tie.
Both, she can vote in both, yes.
So effectively, she can, her decision, what she does now determines whether it passes or whether it fails because it's a tie vote. In other words, it doesn't get defeated, but the measure fails because of that. If she doesn't vote, the measure passes.
And she has to do it right on the time.
Is up.
We couldn't have worked that out. The drama of that couldn't have worked out any better.
Or an abstention leaves it the way it is.
Where is this going, folks? Where am I taking this?
You're not. This is a statement of the Senate regarding.
Does it go to Pat?
No.
It's a statement.
It's a statement of the Senate saying this is how we feel about the illicit voter copying and distribution.
I will vote in favor. The motion passes. On to the next item, funding allocations for new courses and programs.
Very sorry, can I ask, wasn't there a couple votes ago one that would have won, if we were counting it right, that had 10 votes but still lost? It wasn't 10 to 11, I think, right?
No, we didn't have those.
There were.
Yeah, actually, it probably would
There
have.
were no abstentions. Well, if there were no abstentions, then obviously I'm wrong. I don't think it was outnumbered by no's, is what I was saying. Am I wrong
It
about that?
wasn't.
So shouldn't have, I have no idea what it was. but
Yeah, it
shouldn't
probably should have. We look at it.
It was like 10 to 8 or 9, and we said, oh, well, it's not 10 and a half. It can't be 21.
Was it to
Maybe it
extend
was
the
an
debate?
amendment.
No, I think it was to allow the anonymous, it's kind of moot point
Oh.
at this point. It was whether or not to allow
Oh, the
anonymous remarks, I believe.
So that would have passed, which means what?
Mark, you're looking for consistency from this body.
I am.
No, you're exactly right, you're exactly right. Had that passed, it would not have allowed for the anonymous comments to have been made. And because it was decided in that way, because he misspoke, those comments were now on the record.
I
Which
thought it
vote
was,
was it?
yeah,
I think it
thought
was
to
that limit the
extend.
debate and things
Yeah.
like that, but I do appreciate your recollection of it. We'll look at it on tape.
And in the event that it does, in end up being that vote regarding the anonymity of public commentary, we will address that at our next Senate meeting.
Because it also, I believe that that's how we're going to be moving forward with that issue. So that's important for.
I will check to make sure. We are on to item A under unfinished business, funding allocations for new courses and programs. The last time this was brought to you, I would like some direction from the Senate, and I would prefer it be in a motion form as to what we will support in terms of new courses and programs. I don't want to make this a money issue, folks. Here's how it comes down. There is a process by which we present curriculum for new courses and new programs, and one of the questions is there enough funding? If you answer yes, it goes through the rest of the process. If you answer no, I don't know where it goes because everybody answers yes. So there is a new course that could potentially lead to a new program that needs resource allocation for it. Whether the resource allocation is made now or 2 years from now, the resource allocation needs to be made. How much support are we going to provide to new courses and programs? And what I'm looking for is a motion one way or the other. Either we support the innovation and the creation of new courses and programs, and we will look at its cost relative to the number of students it serves. I'm not going to give you folks the motion. I'm giving you the issue for which I will entertain a motion. But we've got to make a decision because this is going to keep coming up. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to speak because we're referring specifically to this, what we were talking about, yes, on Monday, and I'm losing my voice, in DCC, correct?
I don't think it was brought up in DCC, but.
Well, we're talking about basically the funding for the person. I mean, I haven't heard you speak about that yet today. Basically, we had a meeting in DCC and there was the Innovation Grant Award.
Yeah, no, this hasn't.
But it does have everything. It does and it doesn't. Okay, basically, we went to the DCC on Monday, and that's that's the highest committee practically. And what they came up with was with the innovation grant, Cherry Lee Bug put forward $595,000 for the first year for a innovative program, and then another $295,000 for the following 2 years. The point that Jolene is trying to make is this. There's only, like Craig had said the other time in the Senate several weeks ago about talking about the pie and the amount of money in the pie. There is only a certain amount of money that is allocated to salaries, to this, to that, and everything. What I would like to make the Senate aware of is that every time we take a slice of that pie, there's less money left. You know, now we're in negotiations and trying to get everyone a good salary. Well, that comes off the table when we allow funding to go through for programs such as this. One of the things that I had said was, I don't think that there's anyone who sits in the Senate who is not for student success. We're all there. I mean, I'm in CT. I mean, we all work so hard to get our students through, to give them what they need and everything else. However, we also deserve to be paid for it. And when you go through a committee and decide to spend $500,000 or $1 million for a program, and then there's nothing that says that there's going to be any backup funding for this, this is taking that money off the table for years and years to come. So I think that this is important that we present it in the manner that it needs to be presented. And we have to look at things as, where do we want to go? We want to be innovative, yes, but we also want to try things that are tried and true. In the case of this specific item, this was for a software package and 2 employees. It had nothing to do with actually doing anything for the students other than getting this software package together to give them a dashboard of where they are in the system and whether or not they're failing or not. We do have things like that in place at this time. Some of them are effectual, some of them aren't. I just want to let you guys know from the perspective of United Faculty, and from the perspective of you guys with regard to salary, you have to be aware, the pie's only so big. And if we do this by going in a roundabout way to allocate funds throughout different areas, that money is not left on the table for anything else. Whether you think of the greatest whiz-bang thing a year from now or 6 months from now, it will not be there. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Did you want to provide a motion for us that we?
I think another.
Okay.
Whenever you propose a new program or do a program review, you have to include in your write-up, if you're gonna do something, it takes so much money, and you have to say where the funds come from. Well, if we stick to that, and it goes to the budgeting people, and they look at it and say, well, you said you were gonna provide these funds, did you? And if you're coming to us and asking for those funds, you lied on your form. So I think we ought to stick with whatever's on the form should be valid, and if they do need, maybe estimated. Maybe they thought they needed 5,000, now they need 10,000. Okay, they go to the budgeting people, and budget people say, okay, we do have this extra budget, let's see if that can fit within that. There's other needs. And the budgeting people make that decision.
So are you suggesting in a motion that we send this to planning and budget for them to prioritize it as part of one-time funding?
If it's beyond money that they said they were gonna get from some source, yes.
Okay, so is there a second to that motion? So if a program needs additional funding beyond what they originally suggested that would be needed to launch this program, that it be prioritized through the one-time budgeting process?
Can I just clarify something?
Can I get a second first?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Now,
And I know we don't want to talk about the specific of it, but as I understand the specific thing that has brought this issue to us, all of that was done, is the problem. And it seems to have passed through, Mark, right?
If you're talking about a particular course in the
Yes.
division, they did not, I've said this before, I feel like it's not being fully heard, that the master database form clearly requests in a field, is there special funding needs for this particular course? And there was not, and it was a no. Now this course suddenly needs a substantial amount of money. I'm not trying to be punitive. I saw it. I went in the master database of curriculum to check it. It said no need for special funding. I'm not, obfuscating this. So let me finish. If a program, consequently, I'm trying to be helpful to them. And they go, oh my gosh, we do need special funding. We didn't think it through. That can happen. People make mistakes. I guess what you're suggesting, and I agree, Jesse, is there's always the venue to go to budget and planning and make a special request. There's always been that, emergency or special request. Budget planning then has to consider that. Another option is they keep the course. I guess this is a discussion they would have with the faculty in that department, their dean, and their department coordinator. You know what? We dropped the ball in our master database. We didn't have special funding. We cannot offer the course at this time. Maybe we need to write up a block grant, and ask for funding in that way and put it in through competitively until we can launch this course, because it's a substantial amount of money. There are a couple of venues they can take. But it is consequential if you write a course or a certificate or a degree and you don't put in the master database that there's going to be money involved. It's substantial. It's consequential to the curriculum process for us and curriculum committee to assess it. And let me say one last thing. When we put that in there, then we rely on the division deans and department coordinators, because we're not necessarily contractors, to codify and clarify what would be the costs of it, to go into the details of that, and then report to the curriculum committee and make some sort of assessment, which would show up in the, comment sections of that course as it passes through tech review. There would be some kind of response from the division dean or from, the vice president or, of instruction, But there was nothing targeted or flagged. I don't want to put them down. It can happen, and it wasn't in the field that had to do with special funding. And it's even that's even stipulated in the curriculum handbook on our website that people sometimes read or sometimes don't, and that's okay.
is that if it is an additional expense beyond the new course proposal or program, that it be presented through the one-time funding process for allocation. All of those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Oh, okay. That's going to be a small number. Can I get hand votes then for ayes? Okay. And those opposed? Nay? Do a hands for opposed? Oh, well then.
Who's abstaining?
I'd like to make a comment.
Well, we're voting. Okay.
Are
there any no's?
Are there any no's?
Were there anyone opposed?
Oh, no.
Okay, and then abstentions. I have Key, AKA Liana, JY, Tanya, Mark Jr., Michael Clyde, and the Renees.
One day I'll be big boy.
Yeah, please, take it. You're on with change tags.
Okay, so the motion passes that beyond the initial course or program proposal, any additional funding would go through the one-time funding process.
Now, the comment I wanted to make is, that's exactly the way it's supposed to be. However, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the innovation grant.
That's a separate, this is a separate item.
Okay. 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 No, that's why I voted yes for that, because I knew what I was voting for, but
They're not voting. They're not voting.
yeah, I just wanted the other.
All right, so we've got 7 minutes left. This one's equally as exciting. Campus reassign time discussion. Oh. Yes, sir?
I move that we create a committee to look into the way that reassigned time is distributed on the campus.
Fantastic. Is there a second? Good.
Who was the second?
Tina or
I'm gonna have you.
anybody? Okay, so the motion on the floor is to create a subcommittee to look into how campus reassigned time is allocated. You, as the maker of the motion, have the first right of debate.
Yes, I obviously it's something that we need to do. We want to make sure, and I also want to absolutely make sure when I'm speaking that Cherie has a chance to say whatever she's going to say because it supports what I'm talking about.
Well, I was just going to offer the fact I was on the last committee with, like, many years ago that we did increase the assigned time. I still have a lot of my documents, so I would be happy to share.
Would you be happy to be on that committee?
Sure.
Yes.
The committee that doesn't exist yet?
Yes, the committee that doesn't exist
So
already has
if we vote
somebody
for
that
it, you're going to be
will
on it.
call.
Thank you, Ron.
Awesome.
And we can get other people once it is actually officially committee.
Okay, anyone to speak in opposition to the motion of creating a subcommittee to look at the allocation of reassigned time on campus? Opposed?
Main question, to look at the reallocation, are you assuming that whatever's there is gonna stay there and now we're gonna change where it goes?
Not necessarily.
What do you mean by reallocation?
Well, let me tell you what the background is on this.
Reassigned time is what I meant. It's reassigned time.
Yes, it's the reallocation of reassigned time. Currently.
Could you take out the allocation?
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Allocation. Okay.
And I actually was thinking when I said, yeah.
Okay, so currently we're funded, I mentioned this before, our reassigned time is funded through the extended day budget. We get backfilled. It is proposed for the next budget cycle, reassigned time backfilled at 5% for each campus. For Cypress College, that would be about 10 positions. We have twice that many currently in reassigned time, full-time faculty equivalents. For Fullerton College, it would be real close to 15. They currently have 17, so it would almost fund it in entirety.
Call the question.
Fantastic. Is there a second to the call?
Second.
All right, the call has been made. All those in favor of ending debate on this item, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Fantastic. Then the motion on the floor is to create a subcommittee to look into the allocation of reassigned time. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Fantastic. I will send out a call, and Cherie will respond. We know she will. And other people.
Can I also suggest that we get somebody from CTE because of the issues that we have with that, please?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. All right. Then the next item on our agenda is the campus maintenance hour. We have been asked by Planning and Budget Committee, we are, that we take a stand on the I don't want to say imposition, but the implementation of a campus maintenance hour from 10 to 6, whereby access to 10 p.m. to 6 in the morning, where access to the building would be limited. It would allow for our custodial faculty to open up all the doors and windows and move from room to room and clean everything without having to worry about people walking in and possibly walking off with stuff. This has been an issue for some divisions. I will tell you from health sciences perspective, 10 to 6 is a little onerous. 11 to 4 would probably be better, but that's just us and we're just one division. So I will entertain a motion to accept.
I move to create a committee to do it, to look into that, and then report back to us at the next meeting if they can.
Yay. Is there a second? Oh, good, because I thought it was going to die for lack of a second. Fantastic. You, the maker of the motion, have the first right of debate.
We have to get an answer. The PAC will be very happy that we're at least having a committee about it, but we just need an answer to this. And I don't know how, really, it's not going to be a big committee, but we just need an answer to it to get to them.
Fantastic. Anyone to speak in opposition to the creation of a subcommittee to take a look at the campus maintenance hour issue? Oh, good. All those in favor of creating a subcommittee to take a look at the campus maintenance hours? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Any abstentions? Anyone want to serve?
I'll serve.
Oh, good. We've got one who will respond to my call. Jim, you will respond to my call?
We're in our building till midnight, yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, that's
good,
actually
good.
perfect. That's perfect.
And I'd like to work with both of you folks.
Okay.
Good. Oh, look, it's almost 5 o'clock.
You can do the email one.
Can you,
Yes.
JY? All right,
He's
give
ready.
it to us, sir.
I just think it's a great idea and thing to have our students have a campus email. There's multiple reasons I think that are beneficial for it, including financial incentives for our students. They could get on Amazon Prime and get cheaper textbooks. They could, or other websites like that. They could get Microsoft Office for discounted prices or free with the EDU or with the campus email. There's a professional record of correspondence, an organized record of correspondence with that. Sometimes with the personal email, it might go into instructor's spam box, and we don't get those emails. It has uniformity if our students have a campus email. And from that one, I forget his name, Mike.
Mike Kavanaugh?
It seems like one of the problems is that we didn't have enough bandwidth or resources before, but it seems like with this presentation, we might have, I don't know, I'm making an assumption that we would have more resources and bandwidth to support this.
So are you making a motion that we look into the opportunity for extending our campus emails to our students?
Yes.
Second.
Fantastic. Since you're the maker of the motion, you have the first right of debate. I think you did a great job explaining the reason why. Anyone in opposition to looking into creating campus email addresses for our students?
Can I clarify real quick?
Sure.
We're looking into it to
see what...
to make a resolution that this is something that should happen.
Yeah.
We don't have the power to do anything like that, right?
No.
Just to flex our muscles and hopefully exert pressure. That's what we're going.
And would you guys like to know how much it will cost if we do it?
Yes.
That, after the vote, tell you how much it's going to cost? Do you know how much it costs you to increase SLO support?
$140,000.
I don't think funding should ever be something that we consider in abstract because it does so much. So even though it might be something to consider what it will cost us, I think we should know, at least an idea.
This is not in opposition, but I would just suggest that if we do pass this motion, that we invite Mike Kavanaugh to this meeting to talk about it. So that's all.
Absolutely.
This isn't in opposition either, but we recently had someone come and talk to us about marketing. There's a new, this could be Mark Posner in marketing, and we were talking about some emails, and he goes, you guys are all living in an old-timers land. Nobody reads emails anymore. It's all text. So you could be emailing the hell out of your students. They're not going to read it. So we may have missed that boat already. If it's not texted to them, they don't want it. But there is a way to mass text, just like we got with the emergency. So that may be where we need to be going instead of going back.
Can we take vote? All those in favor of checking to see what it's going to take for our students to have campus email, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Fantastic.
I move to adjourn.
Oh, really? No. All right. So be it. Go enjoy your spring break, folks. For public commentary, Eldon?
Yes, my name is Eldon Young. I'm the Dean of the Language, and I'm here to express my opposition to the proposal that a committee be established to resolve so-called issues within the Language Arts Division. It's my belief, and I believe that this is shared by the vast majority of the members of my division, that these issues have been resolved. They may not have been resolved to the satisfaction of a small minority within my division, but they have been addressed. And I don't think that a committee would serve any purpose in terms of what it would be charged to do. So that's all I simply have to say. Thank you.
I'd like to remind public commentary, if it's an item on the agenda, I'd like to hold your comments till we get to the item on the agenda. Next for public commentary, Dr. Simpson.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to summer. I want to preface my remarks by saying that the Senate has the right to consider any issue that it wishes to consider. So please don't hear what I'm saying as indicating that you shouldn't be dealing with any issue that you think is relevant. But I want to make two observations. First, your meetings are way too long. Second, some of the issues that you have agendized and will probably want to agendize in the future cannot be resolved by Senate action. We are all aware of issues that have occurred at the hope in getting it resolved. But I don't believe any motion of the Senate is going to do that. I don't believe any resolution of the Senate is going to do that. Does anyone disagree with the concept that we should be treating each other with courtesy, respect, and professionalism? Does anybody in this room disagree with that? That's how we should be conducting ourselves in every venue of the college. Does anybody disagree with the idea that we should hold civility as at least the minimum standard for our conduct? And yet, we all know that there have been times when that hasn't been the case. And we each share the individual responsibility for making sure that that happens. I know that I have in the past transgressed. I may have said or done things.
My name's Raul Alvarez. I'm the director of the Cypress College Foundation. Thanks for the opportunity to join you. I'm here to talk about Cypress College's 50th anniversary, which will be celebrated the 16-17 year. And I'll be back to speak further about this, but today I just want to give you a little overview of some of the things that we've got planned. First, the 50th anniversary really is the celebration of stories, and everybody has a story. In anticipation of the 50th, we're asking programs, various groups, departments, services to respond to these three questions. What's your story? What's your idea for sharing it? And who's going to tell it? The answers to these questions times the various groups that participate will total the 50th celebration. So various programs, groups, divisions, departments, multiplied by the answers to those questions is the 50th anniversary. We have three audiences: our campus community, our local community, Cypress and beyond certainly, and alumni and retirees. A special effort is being made to reach out to alumni and retirees, and the good news is there's some funding behind that effort, and I'm excited to finally be able to make some headway into that much needed and potentially invaluable resource. The celebration will last the year. However, it will crescendo in the spring. The reason is that we can't really sustain the enthusiasm and the excitement and the energy for an entire year. As you know, Fullerton celebrated its 100th anniversary last year. I attended a couple of their events. Excellent. The events I went to were excellent. But there were 38 events in the course of the year, and I understand that some were attended by a half dozen folks, and it's understandable. It's just harder to maintain energy for the entire year. So even though it covers the year, we will crescendo and focus the celebration on that during that time period in the spring.
15 seconds.
Okay. So more is to come, but remember, what's your story? What's your idea for sharing it? Who's going to tell it?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
can move to A, and everything else will fall below it. Anything else? Yes, sir?
I move to restrict the debate
Turn that on.
times on the agenda.
Okay, is there a second on restricting? All those in favor of restricting the time?
Aye.
Any opposed?
It's just really
And
low.
any abstentions? Then back to the order of the agenda. Are we okay with the order of the agenda with item J moved to the first item under faculty issues unfinished business? Yes, sir.
Since I is related to J, should we keep them together?
Would you like to?
I would like to,
Okay, so we'll move I up right underneath J.
whichever way we want to move it.
So we would have J, then I, then the rest of the items falling below it, and then the time certain item C under new business for 4 p.m. All those in favor of adopting the agenda as reordered?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very well then. We now move on to approval of the minutes from March 12th. Are there any corrections? I'll entertain a motion to accept. Or not? Thanks.
I just don't like to move my own minutes.
Any adjustments, corrections, alterations? Very well. All those in favor of approving the minutes of March 12th, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
You can.
We have one abstention, Jane Walker. Any other abstentions? All right, the minutes of March 12th are adopted. Moving on to public commentary. Members of the public may address the Senate regarding items on the agenda as these items are taken up by the Senate. Members of the public wishing to address matters not on the agenda will be invited to do so under public commentary. There are 3